Another day, another landmark hearing at the U.S. Supreme Court. The justices will consider whether to strike down a law that denies federal benefits to same-sex couples. It's called the Defense of Marriage Act. Yesterday, they heard arguments about California's ban on gay marriage, Proposition 8. Lindsay Duncombe is standing by live outside the U.S. Supreme Court. What are the expectations for today's hearing, Lindsay?
Well, today the justices will be hearing oral arguments on DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act. It's a 1996 law which restricts marriage in the United States to that between a man and a woman. But since then, a number of states, 9, have allowed same-sex marriage. And people who are in same-sex marriages, they're in a tough spot because they can't apply for federal benefits. And the tax schemes are not the same for a couple that is of the same sex as it would be for a couple that is heterosexual. Now, how does this actually play out? Well, I was just over there with all of the demonstrators, and I met a couple. One of the women is from Sweden, and the other is American, and they're in a tough spot because the Swedish woman, her visa expires. Take a listen to what she had to say.
We've been together for a year and a half, and it was love at first sight. We both wanted to get married instantly for the first time in our lives, and we can't. Since I am not a permanent resident, I would have to leave the country potentially in 2 years. It's discriminating and wrong.
And someone else who thinks that this law is discriminating and wrong is the president who actually signed it. That is Bill Clinton. He came out not long ago in an op-ed in the Washington Post and said that the law is discriminatory and should be repealed by the Supreme Court.
I want to take you back to yesterday in that hearing on Proposition 8, California's ban on gay marriage. Some analysts, Lindsay, are saying the justices may not make a strong national ruling on the issue. What are you hearing?
Well, if you listen to the audio of the conversations yesterday, the justices did sound cautious, and they were split along the ideological lines that you would expect. But there's a whole other issue here, and that is of standing. Both of these cases are kind of odd. The California case was not brought forward defending Proposition 8 by the state of California. The state of California doesn't want to see the law in place. So it was the people who wrote the ballot initiative who were here, their lawyers, arguing it in front of the Supreme Court. And with DOMA, because it's a federal law, you would expect that the White House, the Obama administration, would come forward and defend the law of the land. But we know that the president doesn't like this law of the land. He's come out and said that he is in support of gay marriage. So it has fallen to the House Republicans to actually stand and defend the Defense of Marriage Act. And there will be hearings as part of today's arguments to figure out whether they actually do have standing to do that, because these are unusual situations, and there could be a scenario where both cases could be thrown out because of the people who are defending them. Now, we won't know any of that until June when the justices come back with their ruling.